the impact of the Federal Trade Commission, or the FTC, on banning non-compete clauses has created a buzz in the news and spawned many concerns and comments from both business owners and employees. Some welcome this change, saying it will open up the labor pool, allow employees to move around from one job to the next with no restrictions. But others, especially business owners and executives, fear that this may lead to losing company secrets to their competition, or perhaps their own employees getting training that they're paying for and then starting their own companies, creating more competition. In a recent online poll published by ISSA, the majority of respondents are happy. Some 53% say they're pleased with the FTC ruling, saying it opens up the labor pool, bringing more applicants to their companies. 24% said they're not concerned, but 15% said they are concerned with staff retention. To discuss this topic, I welcome Scott Tackett, a business development advisor with Violan Management Associates. At VMA, Scott works closely with human resource departments. Scott, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Jeff. It's great to be with you.
We are going to talk about an important topic, this non-compete ban. Can you tell us the details, the timeline on the impact of this? What's going to happen, Scott?
Yeah, that's a great question. And you hit me right off the bat, Jeff. Right now, we're in the 120-day review period where the FTC will accept input from the public as in regard to how this will unfold. Once that review period is over, then that all of those comments will be taken into consideration, and then a final determination is to be made. That's the way it will unfold. What I think all of us are probably pretty aware of the fact that there is a significant anticipation litigation. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce has already come out and said that they are going to litigate it. It's interesting, Jeff, because I've never really seen this early in a legislative change that groups have already come out in opposition. I know the U.S. Chamber of Commerce has already committed. SHRM, Society for Human Resource Management, has committed to challenging it. There's even rhetoric saying that people are prepared to take this to the Supreme Court if necessary. So it's pretty significant.
Well, that might put a damper on the entire idea. So could be years.
Yeah, it could be. That's something that I'm communicating with people that are asking me is this could be a very, very long, drawn out process. So I don't see anything happening within that within the 120-day period.
In your career, you've been doing this a while.
Mm-hmm.
When has a government mandate like this had this much impact, this much buzz?
Yeah, again, another great question. I think the most significant in my career has been in 1993, the Family Medical Leave Act. That really threw a monkey wrench into everything. Prior to that, the Americans with Disabilities Act. So we're seeing a sequence of events that have really created quite a stir in our business world. But FMLA is the most latest one. That was 1993.
Now, Scott, I've signed a few non-competes in my time. Maybe you have too.
Yes, I have.
And I've heard people joke about them, that they're not enforceable.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't really stop people from getting a job if they need one. If that's true, what led to all this? Why now? Why is the FTC now doing something about this?
Yeah, I think Jeff, there's been a lot of pressure as the business world changes and people are coming and going. And I hate to go back to COVID, but in the changes with people working from home, the flexibility that was created, and so I think it's the changing environment. And my understanding of this is that there's really four major drivers of this FTC initiative. Number one is that they claim that there is significant abuse by employers, that these non-competes are overly broad. and they're unreasonable in the scope of the documentation. Number two, which has always been, and you refer to the idea it's not enforceable. There's many states that have their own reforms already in place. And I know whenever I get a question or when a question comes to me about the enforcement of a non-compete, the first thing I do is go to the state laws. I'm going to go to, what in California, Texas, Ohio, every state is somewhat different. So many states already have enacted restrictions or bans. So I think there's a sense of trying to find a continuity, a consistency across our country. Also, there is a very strong belief from, and I'll use the term experts, that non-competes stifle innovativeness, entrepreneurship, by not allowing employees to move and feeling like, okay, they can't take their knowledge, skills, and abilities to either open up their own business, create their own environment, or go to different companies. So that's another factor that's driving uh, the FTC. And then finally, I think it's the idea that um, uh, there's a sentiment that, in addition to these three previous things, that also it's restricting people from being able to apply to higher level jobs, to more and higher paying positions. So therefore, we are stifling the ability for people to grow, and both financially and professionally. So I really think those are the four big drivers.
Great information. Thank you for sharing that. I don't we don't know the answer to this one, but I have to think there might be some people right now quitting their jobs and moving on because they know this is probably going to happen.
I absolutely would agree with that.
Mm.
And, I think that we have to take a all of us have to take a very a cautious approach to how we react to this, and not overreact, but not underestimate either what the potential. You said it a minute ago. We really don't know the typical 120 days, and maybe something will change in between there, and then all of a sudden we're faced with these regulations. So I think
Mhm.
the idea of being proactive as opposed to reactive is very important.
When you deal with your own clients, your own network, any talk about fear, like I imagine a worker in some setting, business, maybe working in innovation and research and development, they know stuff. And they could easily walk across the street to some other company, some other competitor. Is that in discussion now in your world?
It is, and I think in the broadest of terms. I don't think it's something that is as specific as we would say the IT world, or other high tech industries. But I think that there is a level of fear, and there is a level of anticipation that I might lose, you know, 5 of my 10 employees because of that, which I think is a legitimate concern. But I think that there's some things that, again, being proactive, we should be doing. But yeah, I'm hearing that. I'm hearing that for sure.
Yeah. If you were to put together some worst or best case scenarios, what would those look like?
Yeah, I think as you look at as we look at this, I think with any, for lack of a better phrase, laws enactment changes in employment related situations, is that there's always room for compromise. There's always room for the ability to negotiate. So my feeling is that if we can keep the level head, we can keep, not being over here or not being over here, but come together as a balance and say, okay, maybe there has been abuse by employers in the past. Maybe there is, this conflict between state and local and federal government. How do we bring those all together? So I think a win would be if we could come back and determine that it doesn't have to be all or nothing. Let's look at something middle of the road. I do feel that there is some legitimacy to the issue of um, innovation and people being afraid, to do and take extra steps. And so I think there's a risk factor on both the employer side and the employee side. I think the most significant con is the fact of litigation. The cost that's going to be associated with litigating these, and with people already saying in very high level positions of responsibility that, hey, we may go to the Supreme Court. Now that could be rhetoric, who knows at the end of the day, but it's still going to be litigated. That's a waste of time, money, and resources that we could be spending in other areas. And I'm also afraid of another scenario. Jeff, you've been around the industry as long as anyone else. We always have that issue of training and developing our people. I'll train and develop my you know my replacement or my competitor. So I think the employers are going to be less prone right now to train and develop, even compared to what they were before. So I think that's a very, very significant, from my perspective, that's a significant downside that this could all come to play. Um, and again, I look at this and I'm trying to be cautious with my clients and the relationships that I have outside of the industry with other human resource people and folks. And we're saying, okay, let's step back, not overreact, but not underestimate. I think what we have to do is communicate more and be more transparent right now with our employees about this, address the fears, address the issues that we have. I don't think we need to overreact in any stretch of the imagination, but I don't think we should bury our head in the sand either.
Mm-hmm. You stole my next question, Scott, because I want to talk about training because
Yeah.
I've already heard it over the years. I've done classes and workshops as you have, and I know VMA has an event coming up soon. Employers send their staff for training to be better people for them.
Right.
I could easily see what you just described there happening because that person you just send to training, you spend thousands of dollars because training is not just the cost of the training, it's loss of time, it's the lodging and the travel. There's a big expense to training. We all know this.
Yeah.
So I could see it impacting that. And I hope it doesn't because
Yeah.
our people need trained.
Absolutely. We all do. We all do. Jeff,
Mhm.
the minute we stop learning, start developing, stop wanting to be better is the day that we're going to go down the other direction. And
Mhm.
that's unfortunate. I think that I get asked all the time, what separates a good company from a great company? My my response, and it's not a canned response, it's a true belief, is that training and developing of your people. Because training and developing are two different things. I train for specific tasks, duties, and responsibilities in the job classification they're in. I develop people for higher opportunities, not necessarily promotional opportunities, but higher levels of performance. And so I think when we give up on that, we've given up on our people, we've given up on our client base, we've given up on our communities and society in general. I don't want to see that happen.
Yeah. In closing, I'd like to get your thought on this. Employers might have to up their game
Yeah.
to keep their best people because of the options out there. Company culture might become a bigger story in this. Do you
Well,
agree with that? Do you see that happening?
100%. 100%. I've kind of thought about, from my own perspective as a consultant, and then even in VMA, let's face it, we're all going to be involved in this situation. I think there's three courses of action that we need to take immediately. Number one, I would strongly suggest that every owner review their current non-competes and make sure that they ensure that they are in compliance with either current local, state, or federal, or the current existing situation. So review those. And if you've got some concerns about that, my suggestion is that you seek legal counsel. Talk to your legal people about it. Number two, I think that we have to ensure that the use of properly structured, confidential confidentiality and non-disclosure agreements are in place, because those are still, we can still enforce those. So in other words, confidentiality and non-disclosure agreements need to be in place and need to be updated. I would take that as a second action. And then you said it, and again, none of these are in any particular order. We need to continue to focus on our culture, the culture inside the organization. And if we're doing a good job of that, in my estimation, we're going to minimize that fear that I'm going to lose 5 of my 10 employees, because we are working on the retention, and the engagement should be the focus, not this particular situation.